All right, today we're diving into something really big. It's a framework for humanity's future in space, and it's called the Guerrilla Logistics Architecture. Now, this isn't about just building a better rocket. No, this is a totally different way of thinking. It's a supply chain approach to building a real, honest-to-goodness solar system civilization.
We've all seen the sci-fi, right? The incredible starships, the shiny cities on Mars. But you have to ask, how do we actually get from where we are now to that? Well, this explainer digs into a framework that suggests maybe, just maybe, our sci-fi dreams have been holding us back a little.
So let's start with the idea that's in pretty much all of our heads, thanks to decades of science fiction. The single, do-it-all spaceship. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. It's the Millennium Falcon. It's the Starship Enterprise. It's this one magnificent vessel that can blast off from a planet, cruise through the vacuum, land on another world, and then do it all over again. And look, it's a super romantic idea, right? It's really appealing.
Yeah, here's the thing though, it's a total fantasy. The source material for this is really blunt about it. Think about it. The physics you need to escape a huge gravity well like Earth's, that's completely different from the physics of traveling efficiently between planets. A ship that tries to do everything is going to be a master of none. It becomes this monstrously complex, fragile, and just unbelievably expensive machine. So, if the one ship to rule them all dream is dead, what's the alternative? Well, this is where the guerrilla architecture comes in, and it offers a solution that's way more realistic and honestly a lot more elegant.
The core idea here is so simple, but it's also kind of revolutionary. Stop fighting physics. I mean, just look at how we move stuff on Earth. We don't use one magic vehicle for everything, right? We've got massive cargo ships for ocean freight, we've got airplanes for people, and we have trucks for that last-mile delivery. The guerrilla architecture just applies that exact same logic, that specialization, to space. And this just lays it out perfectly. The old fantasy is fragile. If your one super ship breaks down, guess what? The entire system grinds to a halt. But the supply chain reality, it's modular, it's robust. You can upgrade one part of the system, like, say, your freight haulers, without having to completely redesign your passenger ships. It's actually designed to grow and evolve over time.
And you know the best part about this whole grand vision? It doesn't need some magical, futuristic technology that we have to wait 100 years for. It all starts with really practical, concrete steps that we can start taking, like right now.
Okay, this is phase 0, the bootstrap. And check this out, it's designed to work using only tech we have around 2025. It starts with floating launch platforms right on the equator, which gives you a nice little velocity boost from the Earth's spin. Then you establish a depot in low Earth orbit. Think of it like a floating warehouse and gas station. And the final piece of the puzzle, and this one's a biggie, is making fuel from ice on the moon.
But you might be thinking, what if we can't find enough accessible ice on the moon? Well, the architecture has a plan for that. In what's called the dry moon scenario, we just launch the fuel from Earth. Yeah, it's more expensive, but the system still works. But if we do find that water, the wet moon scenario, the cost of spaceflight could literally drop by 90% almost overnight. So that lunar water isn't a deal breaker, it's a massive economic accelerator.
Okay, so once that foundation is laid, we can get to building the real heart of the system, this multi-layered transportation network that basically works like a railroad system, but, for the entire solar system.
All right, this is the whole shebang. The system has 5 main layers that all work together. Layer 0.5 is the power grid, which uses lasers to beam energy where it's needed. Then you get into the transport layers. Layer 1 is for freight, using railguns to move cargo. Layer 2 is for people, using these huge habitats called cyclers. Layer 3 is your local, last-mile delivery system of simple taxis. And finally, you've got a strategic layer for those really urgent, high-speed missions. Let's take a closer look at a couple of these. Let's start with Layer 1, the railguns. Now, launching a 10-ton cargo pod at kilometers per second is one thing, but catching it at the other end? Whoa, that is the real challenge. The braking process dumps an absolutely insane amount of energy. We're talking up to 12 gigawatts in just a couple of seconds. That's the power output of several nuclear power plants, all focused on stopping one little pod. So how in the world do you handle that much energy? Well, you do it with this really clever multi-stage process that goes from big, rough adjustments to teeny tiny ones. First, you just aim the pod really well. Then a magnetic funnel grabs it from far away for course alignment.
As it gets closer, it passively locks into the track, and tiny laser pulses nudge it for that final fine-tuning. And then, this is the genius part. Regenerative braking captures all that kinetic energy and turns it right back into electricity to help with the next launch. It's just an incredibly efficient system.
Okay, now for layer 2, moving people. A lot of us imagine these tiny little ships desperately trying to chase down and dock with some massive space station. This quote from the source material just corrects that idea perfectly. These huge passenger habitats, the Grand Cyclers, they're on fixed, predictable orbits. They're like trains on a track. You know exactly where they're going to be years in advance. It's two trains meeting at a planned junction, not a speedboat chasing a cruise ship.
So, if the cyclers are the express trains, how do you get to and from the station? That's where these IKEA taxis come in. The whole philosophy here is just simplicity. These things are disposable workhorses. They're mass-produced on-site with 3D printing. A Mars taxi is built on Mars for Mars gravity. A lunar taxi is built on the moon. They are cheap, locally optimized, and designed to be replaced, not repaired.
But you know, this isn't just about moving boxes and people from point A to point B. All of this incredible infrastructure, it all serves a much, much deeper purpose, creating a permanent, self-sustaining human civilization away from Earth.
And that new civilization is subject to one absolutely non-negotiable rule. And it has nothing to do with engineering. It's all about biology. For healthy development, human gestation and the first few years of childhood must happen in full 1.0 G gravity. This is a hard constraint. It's a biological mandate that dictates the entire design of any off-world habitat. And the engineering solutions flow right from that biological rule. On a place like Mars, it means building these large rotating centrifuges underground. They call them carousel tunnels. Out in the asteroid belt, the habitats themselves would have to be these massive spinning cylinders or spheres to generate artificial gravity. In this future, you see, gravity isn't a luxury. It's a medical utility, just like oxygen or clean water.
So when you put this all together, what does it add up to? Well, the authors are really clear that the gorilla architecture isn't supposed to be a prediction, and it's not a business plan. It's something more fundamental than that.
So how much of this is actually feasible? This table here shows the technology readiness levels for each layer. And just notice how high some of these numbers are. Phase 0, the bootstrap part, that uses existing technology. The manufacturing for those taxis? Totally proven. It shows that the biggest challenges aren't really about inventing brand new physics, but about scaling up and integrating the systems we already have.
So, just to be crystal clear, this is what the gorilla architecture is really all about. It's a coherent, logical framework. It's a system designed from the ground up to work with the laws of physics, not fight against them. And maybe most importantly, it's an open source contribution. It's a starting point for other people to argue with, to refine, and to build upon.
You see, in the end, this whole ambitious document isn't a prediction of what's going to happen. It's an invitation. It lays out a plausible, physics-based blueprint for a civilization that spans the solar system, and it invites all of us to think big, to engineer creatively, and to start building. Which leaves us with the only question that really matters, right here on the screen. Where do we start?